I had a dream that the children would be playing the ukulele all over the country.
This is a story about a little instrument that conquered the world, and one man's dream of getting a ukulele into the hands and hearts of every school kid in New Zealand. His name is Bill Sevesi. Some call him the godfather of Pacific music. The ukulele is a top-of-the-charts pop star right now. I know a little about this. I'm one of the 12 members of the Wellington International Ukulele Orchestra. We started out as friends, playing for fun. But we found ourselves surfing a ukulele tsunami that has swept the civilized world.
On stage now, the Wellington International Ukulele Orchestra!
We kind of started out as a bunch of friends jamming around a coffee table at our local. The more we played, the more we realised how much people were enjoying it, and the more we enjoyed it ourselves. Yeah, it's just been a kind of natural transition into the more commercial side of things.
Well, I remember the first time I heard a lot of them together. When I joined, there were already 7 members, and when I heard 7 ukuleles all together, it sent a shiver up my spine. And I reckon it's always worth just running through a song once just to see if it's got any legs in it. And sometimes the ones you'd think, oh, that's obviously going to be good on the ukulele, might not just have the magic ingredients.
The embarrassment happened in the first few rehearsals, really, and since then it's more like there's a kind of a unknown factor, like Andy was saying, which is just really impossible to predict. And the more we have played some songs, the more we've loved them, and there's absolutely no rule about what is going to work at all, except that if someone comes to the band with a song they really, really love and they sing it like they love it, then for some reason those ones are the ones that tend to be infectious.
I love you, Raylene. I love you, Raylene. I love you, Raylene. I love you, Raylene. I got drunk, how drunk I got. As everything went flat, it came to me clear I had to let the world know about Raylene and the way that I felt. I'm going down to the highway with my bucket and my brush. I'm gonna paint it up. I love you, Raylene. Got my bucket and my paintbrush. I love you, Raylene. The Hogg was getting it right. I love you, Raylene. I found the biggest billboard. I love you, Raylene. And I painted it up large. I got plans that are really big. Well, first of all, I plan to introduce myself to her. If she says hello, or so much as looks up at me, I'm going back down to the highway with my bucket and my brush. I'm gonna paint it up. Raylene, marry me. I love you, Raylene. 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 That's right. I'm not so keen on your dad. And I got through a whole lot of paint. Just to let you know. Raylene, marry me.
The cute little uke is everywhere, perhaps enjoying the wildest wave of success in its long life yet. Just why everyone has fallen so suddenly and so heavily in love with the ukulele is open to all sorts of theories. But it's not a first-time worldwide love affair for the ukulele. The little instrument has a very big backstory. The current rise and rise of the ukulele is manifesting itself in many ways. The Nukes here are from Auckland. They've been going for a couple of years. One of them used to be a pop star. One was a drummer in a band called Golden Horse, and the one with the banjolele is a radio DJ. They write their own songs, and their sound falls somewhere between the Palangi and the Pacific.
By the coast is home to me, inland foreign territory. Back door open, long since lost the key. Front of the fire sit relaxed faces, always drinking familiar places. So comfortable, I guess I'm set in my ways. 'Cause ooh, it feels like home to me. Oh, it feels like home to me. Ooh, it feels like home. This place feels like home to me. I think I'll stay here by the sea. This place feels like home to me. I think I'll stay here by the sea. This place feels like home to me. I think I'll stay here by the sea. This place feels like home to me. I think I'll stay here by the sea.
So you're all pop guys. What's with the ukes? Couldn't you afford the electricity?
Well, I guess the reality is that, you know, there's a lot of guitar players out there, you know, and I kind of like the fact that there's not so many people out there playing ukulele. In fact, a lot of musicians don't actually rate the ukulele at all. They you know, they just don't take it seriously.
So to sum up, four fingers, 4 strings, do the maths yourself and come away with an answer.
And also, it's not a little toy that's trying to grow up to be a guitar. I'm not practicing on this and then moving on to things. This is what I love. I love playing with this. I love the whole thing. We've since changed the string onto the stuff, but it's still My Dog Has Fleas. But I'm not hoping to grow into anything. This is its own thing. A violin's not trying to be a cello, and I like its little honesty.
Snaps, do I detect some defensiveness?
Very much so, to the point where if I see a 6 string, I cut 2 strings, just Mr. Knuckle it. Dance moves come from rock and roll, armchair my remote control. Oh, well, pork chop goes better with garden beans. With my wife, spend the rest of my life, ooh, here in paradise. Dog at my feet and grandchild on my knee. You know why? Ooh, it feels like home to me. Oh, it feels like home to me. Ooh, it feels like home. This place feels like home to me. Whoa, think I'll stay here. Feels like home to me. This place feels like home to me.
The humble ukulele has had plenty of ups and downs in its long life. One moment it seemed people couldn't leave the little thing alone, and then suddenly it wasn't being taken seriously anymore. It had fallen from big hands back into little ones. It was seen as a kid's thing, the plastic Christmas toy at the bottom of the stocking. Strangely, some people were drawn to the uke precisely because it was so uncool. In Hamilton in the 1980s, there was born the Big Muffin Serious Band. Determined to unsettle as much as to entertain, they took to playing ukuleles, but not in an entirely good way. They are, in a way, the anti-ukuleles.
Well, every evening when the sun goes down, most of the jokers, they go downtown and they pick up a Sheila or get pissed. Some go home and turn on TV while the wife is burning tea. They go down to the army depot and enlist. 1, 2, 3, 4, Hamilton, it's the greatest little town in New Zealand, but I'd do anything to get away.
Graham Cairns, or Laird McGillicuddy as he's also known locally, made his first public mark and put Hamilton on the political map in a silly sort of way as leader of the McGillicuddy Serious Party. And it was in just such a mad moment that he also formed the Big Muffin Serious Band with his mate Jim, after picking up a ukulele and finding that even he could play it. "20 years later, they're not entirely happy to find themselves and their instrument of choice the hot new thing.
I figure if you stick with something long enough, eventually it comes into fashion. But I didn't expect to be proved right on the ukulele front.
Yeah, in fact, we were counting on it never happening. That's the whole point in what we do.
The secret to our success was the phenomenal obscurity of the ukulele. So it was very easy to create quite a sensation by playing an instrument that nobody else played.
I'm not detecting any defensiveness around the accusation that the ukulele is a joke instrument.
No, well, that's why we played it in the first place.
We've based our vast ukulele empire on the fact that it is a joke.
Yeah. And so our choice of repertoire was based around the fact that 50% of the tunes we did were completely inappropriate to the instrument. And that sort of heightened the irony of the whole thing. Yeah, whereas it wouldn't have worked if we'd done it on guitars or banjos or even accordions or bagpipes. None of those things would have worked.
Yeah, we've played the ukulele all around New Zealand for a long, long, long time. So we've certainly raised its profile, but not so many of the new players are playing in our style, you know, as a sort of as a comedy instrument and a you know, sort of anti-art statement.
Yeah, and in the 80s we were touring almost continuously for a couple of years, and no one ever wrote to us and said, "Gee, Big Muffin Band, thanks for introducing us to ukulele. I now play it regularly."
That's right, nobody did, that's true.
I'm getting my regular daily intake of ukulele thanks to you.
Back in the 80s, did you feel like the only ukulele band around?
We were the only.
We didn't just feel like it. Well, maybe there were others, but we never encountered them. Until in '89 we were in Britain and we bumped into the Ukulele Orchestra of Great Britain and had a jolly good afternoon with them.
They would have only just started.
Well, they thought they were the only ukulele band in the world as well, and so then we realised that there were two of us.
So have you had any run-ins with the, I guess, more orthodox ukulele folk who think what you're doing isn't necessarily the right thing to be doing with a ukulele?
Well, there's the story of that Auckland Uke Festival a couple of years ago where we stared down at a sea of stony faces who didn't really enjoy, maybe they didn't enjoy our performance, or the fact that there were a bunch of people dressed strangely, really being quite sacrilegious with the instrument by their standards, whereas for us it was a vehicle for a performance, and we had quite a poor reception there, and we smashed up a ukulele at the end, as we are prone to do sometimes, just as a joke, a rock and roll joke, and that was kind of the straw that possibly broke the ukulele zeal camel back. And at the end of that gig, one of us was rounded up upon by a couple of big hefty guys who were going to give him the bash for being so disrespectful to the sacred instrument.
Hamilton, Whamilton, Whamilton, Glamilton. Thank you very much, folks. Thanks for coming.
I've got to keep on trying, but I'll never have anything more than I've got today.
There were other trailblazing local performers playing ukuleles in difficult times.
We are the front lawn, we drink milk without tea.
The Front Lawn started out in the late 80s as a duo of Don McGlashan and Harry Sinclair, before picking up actress Jennifer Ward-Leland, her voice and her ukulele, which she's been playing since she was a kid and still plays to this day. Actually, it was Jennifer who first inspired me to pick up the uke. When you joined the Front Lawn, you were ahead of the curve, turning up with a ukulele.
Yeah, I didn't think of it like that, though. I mean, I think Don and Harry just knew that I played the ukulele, and we thought, well, we've just got to put that in the show. And my character was a kindy teacher, so, you know, that was a good thing to have for kindy teachers.
So when you were 11, we didn't have the classes in ukulele that we have now.
No.
How did you teach yourself?
I got taught some basic chords, and then I think I bought, yes I did, I bought a couple of ukulele chord books, and this is Mel Bay's ukulele chords. Wacky, crazy design, but we like the look of Mel because he's on profile here. And this is how all ukulele players should dress when they play. Fabulous, very formal. So he's marvellous. So anything you want, you know, want to play D flat minor, you know, there it is.
Oh, good, because I did need to know that one.
You did need to know that one. And so excellent reference book. Thank you, Mel. Everything you want to know about a ukulele.
Brilliant. You've had this ukulele since you were 9.
I have. It's battered and bruised. It's been around the world about 4 times, but still, I can't find a better sound that I like. I got a more expensive one once, but I have never played it.
Why?
It kept going out of tune, and I just didn't feel right. Maybe it just didn't have the requisite amount of dings in it or something, but this still says that I lived in 180 Arrow Street in Wellington, so that's how long ago it was.
And I was just thinking about the I don't know if incongruity is the right word, but of your height versus your favourite song to play on the ukulele.
Ah, yes, my favourite song to play, which is 5'2", and of course we all know I'm not. So it is a very silly song. There's me, 5'11", and little instrument and little song. So yeah, so this is actually the first song I ever learned. 5'2", eyes are blue, but what those 5 foot can do, has anybody seen my girl?
The ukulele has enjoyed previous explosions of popularity, some of them rather unsettling. In the 1960s, a bizarre character called Tiny Tim took his ukulele and his unique version of Tiptoe Through the Tulips into the world's charts.
That is where I'll be, come tiptoe through the tulips with me.
In the 1950s, the uke was a sing-along star around campfires and picnics at the beach. And it was caught up in the sound of the Polynesian dance bands that had Kiwis up on the dance hall floors.
For the first time, gramophone records for sale to the public are being made entirely in New Zealand.
There was even a ukulele played by a well-dressed gent strumming in the background on New Zealand's first ever recording, 1949's Blue Smoke. But the thing about the uke, whether in fashion or not, is that it has always been a musical canoe sailing back to the Pacific Islands. Polynesia has been the natural home and a breeding ground of ukulele-playing talent for a century and a half. And it's where the story of the ukulele really begins.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Yagadore Jonalo Mue, Enusi Joki Osiete, Yakapanaya, string box head, score, Jonalo Mue, Aue, Enusi Joki Osiete, Yakapanaya, string box head, score, Jonalo Mue. Hey, what they Maya Christian Collins, they a jockey or step to the left, hop to the right, they a jockey, score, they a jockey, yeah. Oh, score, the jockey, yeah, allez. Yagadore Jonalo Mue, Enusi Joki Osiete, Yakapanaya, string box head, score, Jonalo Mue, Aue, Enusi Joki Osiete, Yakapanaya, string box head, score, Jonalo Mue. What they Maya Christian Collins, they a jockey or step to the left, hop to the right, they a jockey, they got a kite, score, they a jockey, yeah.
The lively guys of Fia Musa come out of an old tradition, one that landed in the Pacific in the late 1800s, when imported labourers from Madeira travelled to the sugar plantations of Hawaii, bringing their tiny traditional instruments with them and impressing the locals with their lickety-split strumming technique. The instrument developed various styles as it drifted through the islands of the Pacific.
When I'm playing the lead ukulele, I feel like what's his name? Sting. Hey, I feel like one of those rock stars, because I can do the same thing with the ukulele. Hey, but I think it does make me sexy because I can sing very, very nice love songs with it, and I can make them shake their thing with it, and I can probably take them home with it.
What about you, Lindsay?
To be honest, I just like the attention.
Was it kind of inevitable that you would grow up to be a ukulele player?
Yeah, pretty much. I believe that's how it works out to be, especially with our family members, playing the ukuleles, playing the Cook Island drums, and the culture. It's just beaten into us three, so you could put it that way.
In a nice way.
And there's more to just ting, 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 ting. You know, there's times when you can have nice, smooth rhythms, and there's times where you could sort of like caress the audience with your sound.
And that's something that differentiates Cook Island's music from the Hawaii ukulele sound, is the speed, isn't it?
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
Cook Island tempos, we usually start from 130 BPM to about 190 BPM.
What does that sound like?
130 would be something like, and 190 would be a tamure, which would sound something like this, RJ would say. Something like that.
So why is it so much faster?
I think because the fact that us as Cook Islanders use a lot of the drum rhythms that we do with the hula, and it's always at a fast tempo. So we've adapted that with our music.
Hey, can I get you to show me that really fast strum?
Really fast drum?
Yeah.
Yeah. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, and.
Having fallen in love with the ukulele in the 1800s, Hawaii kept its sound pretty much to itself up until 1915, when the islands hosted a hugely popular pavilion at the Panama Pacific Expo in San Francisco. It was America's first big taste of Hawaiian music, and the Yanks went completely crazy for the ukulele. By the 1920s, songwriters were churning out island-style pop songs, and American guitar factories were turning out ukes by the thousands. But a decade later, the ukulele was out of vogue. Everywhere, that is, except Hawaii and the Pacific Islands, where to this day it remains a key part of the musical culture. Herman Pe'ekia Clark moved to New Zealand from his home of Hawaii in 2000. He brought with him a deep love for the ukulele. What place does the ukulele hold in Hawaiian society?
It has a prominent place. Our music is based on the ukulele, based around the ukulele, so you see an ukulele in lots of homes. It's ubiquitous, I think, and I guess that's another point for me. It's so normal. It's such a normalized part of what we do that to see it treated with such focus and enjoyment and reverence overseas is really a lovely thing. It really makes us kind of take a look at our instrument again and think, wow, yeah, it is special.
In these modern high-tech times, what do you make of the way that the humble ukulele has taken over?
Well, we've exported a couple of things to the world, and that have become quite popular. Surfing, for one thing, is a sport developed in Hawaii and perfected in Hawaii, a lot of people would think. The hula has taken the world. Lots of people are practicing hula, the dance, around the world. So it should come as no surprise, really, that the ukulele has had a resurgence of interest and renaissance around the world. So that, it is nice. I find it really a lovely thing that people are taking it on.
Is there a typical Hawaiian style of playing the ukulele?
I think there is. The instrument is strum. But it's also picked.
Part of the ukulele's history is the romantic sort of cheeseball Waikiki scene.
Yeah, a lot of my family were a bunch of those cheese balls on the Waikiki beach. Yeah, they were really very involved in that culture, which was around the 1920s through just after the war. And so a lot of that music that came out of that time, they were in some cases responsible for, but they certainly all performed it. And so I love that era. Some beautiful music came out of it.
Your uncle Melvin Poa wrote a song called Waikiki Chickadee at that time.
Yes. My uncle was a rascal, and so he would write music for the young ladies particularly young lady that, did I say plural young ladies? Yeah, the young lady that he was courting, and at that time he wrote a song for a young lady that he had interest in, and it became quite popular. Amongst many popular songs of that time, and my family, by virtue of my uncle writing it, our family has learned the song, and we hand it down. And so I've learned the song. He taught me that song just before he passed away, and I'm teaching it now to my children and telling my children the story of our uncle, and not necessarily all the circumstances around why the song was written, but we're certainly enjoying the song, and I'm playing it with you all. I'd like to be in Waikiki with you, my little chickadee, just we two, beneath the sky so blue, holding hands all day through. And at night, the moon above will tell that we're in love. That's why I'd like to be in Waikiki with you, my little chickadee. I'd like to be in Waikiki with you, my little chickadee. Just we two, beneath the sky so blue, holding hands all day through. And at night, the moon above will tell that we're in love. That's why I'd like to be in Waikiki with you, my little chickadee. That's why I'd like to be in Waikiki with you, my little chickadee.
We wouldn't be telling this story if it wasn't for Bill Sevesi, the man they call the godfather of Pacific music in New Zealand. Bill came to New Zealand from Tonga in 1933 as a boy. A natural musician and songwriter, the first instrument he learned to play was the ukulele.
Actually, it was way back in the year 1938. I was living in a house with a Samoan sister-in-law of mine, and that was the first time I ever took to a ukulele because she had one. At the end of the day, we used to sit around in our living room and all that, talking, laughing, and when we wanted music, my sister-in-law would bring the ukulele out and started playing and all that, you know. So anyhow, I was fascinated by the sound of the ukulele. So she taught me the ukulele.
Bill went on to lead dance bands and make records with a big Polynesian flavour from the late 1940s onwards.
when I'm on my own at home, it doesn't make any noise, so it's easy to play.
And it still found its way into your recordings. So.
Oh, I use it nearly every time. Always, always. Without ukulele, I feel lost.
Bill has inspired and taught countless players, including the ukulele-playing legend, Sione Aleki. So when did you meet each other for the first time?
Well, I was born in Tonga and I came to New Zealand when I was 11 years old. After 32 years in New Zealand, I decided to go back and have a look where I was born. That was 1965, I went back to Tonga, and I was told about this wonderful ukulele player way out south of Nuku'alofa, the city. So I went out there and I have a look at Sione Aleki. I met him for the first time, and I was amazed at his technique. I've never seen anybody play a ukulele like him, you know, not on his hand, around his body, around the back of his neck, with his teeth, and with his feet sometimes. And I said, Johnny, you're the best I've ever seen in the world. How about coming to New Zealand, and one day perhaps I can help you. There's a few little rough spots in there. Perhaps we could clean it all up and maybe compose some songs, some nice beautiful songs in recording studios. So the time came, Sione came to New Zealand.
When you hear the ukulele, you know that's the Pacific. Starting from Hawaii, Tahiti, Cook Islands, Samoa, and Tonga, and Fiji. When you hear the sound of the ukulele strum, you know you're in the Pacific. And I love the ukulele, sort of like my wife. I like the ukulele.
That's wonderful. Well, as Sione just said, it's so Polynesian. It doesn't seem like Polynesian if you don't have the ukulele in there. The ukulele is a very versatile little instrument. And lots of big bands now are doing it. I've seen one of the Beatles guy doing a show on English television, ukulele. Then I saw a comedian star, Stephen Martin, or whatever his name is, on television. He was playing the ukulele. So ukulele is very applicable to all ages. You know, that's why the children at school taking a liking to playing the ukulele.
It was Bill Sevesi who famously said he wanted to see children playing ukuleles in classrooms from Kaitaia to Invercargill. If he felt like a little road trip, Bill could see kids playing ukes in classrooms in both those places, and just about everywhere in between. Bill Sevesi's dream isn't a dream anymore.
Don't tell anybody, but I feel sure I started it off in New Zealand. The ukulele's been there for hundreds of years, but nobody ever thought of getting it to schools and starting with the children. So the ukulele actually been my life from the very beginning right up to now. It was only a dream, but it has come true, innit? Did you go to Mount Smart and see it? There was no dream there. That was true. That dream has come true.
The ukulele has mounted a serious invasion of New Zealand schools. It hasn't exactly been a hard sell. Kids just naturally want to get their hands on the easy-to-play instrument, and their parents haven't been far behind. It seems we're all in love with the little ukulele all over again. But let's face it, what's not to love?
Baby,
just keep stringing me along. You just keep stringing me along. And I would rather be strong alone than ever see you at all. You're so mean to me that I would rather be at your beck and call than ever hear from you at all. You know, I think your heart's soft. We could be together, so natural. Oh, you're so easily guessed. I would be your pet if you would show me some loving and respect. You just keep stringing me along. I would rather be strong alone than ever see you at all. You're so mean to me. I would rather be at your beck and call than never hear from you at all. I know you know that I'm your type of girl, that we could be together, so natural. Oh, you're so easily forget. Oh, I would be your pet if you would show me some love and respect. You just keep stringing me along. I would rather be strong alone than ever see you at all.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.